This is Small Biz Florida, the podcast designed and produced specifically for Florida small business owners and entrepreneurs. Small Biz Florida, talk that works for Florida. This podcast is supported by the Florida SBDC Network, providing the tools, strategies, and expertise to help Florida's business community thrive. Visit the Florida SBDC online at www.floridasbdc.org or contact your local office and get started on your path to success today.
This is Small Biz Florida, the podcast and broadcast that's all things business across the state of Florida. I am Tom Kindred, your host for Small Biz Florida. And as everyone knows that if you've been tuning into Small Biz Florida for any length of time at all, we always talk about one of the primary reasons we developed our little podcast platform here. The most important reason we developed it was to, during times of disaster, be able to get information out to the small business community, make sure that small business owners, operators were advised of all the business assistance and resource programs that are available, especially in times of disaster. No one is unaware of the devastating damage that Hurricane Ian left in its wake as it crossed Florida. Thousands of small business owners and operators have been affected on the West Coast. And I got to tell you, you also know this about me. I was at one time a small business owner and operator. I owned my business through 3 hurricanes that were direct hits on our marketplace, Francis, Jean, and Wilma in 2004 and 2005. And I got to tell you, I knew nothing about all the incredibly powerful and valuable resources that were available to me after a disaster. And one of the most important resources is the Florida Small Business Development Center Network. 9 centers across the state of Florida to help small business owners, especially in times of disaster. And we've got the state director for the Florida SBDC Network with us right now, Mr. Greg Britton. Greg, welcome back to Small Biz Florida.
Well, thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on and talking about this topic today that's so important for our small businesses in the state of Florida.
No, and I appreciate you taking time out, Greg. I know that, and we're going to talk about what you've been doing and what's going on. I know you guys are covered up right now on the West Coast, but we appreciate you taking time out to really keep everyone informed. Our platform is easy to access, and you can replay it. And so we've started. We've done a segment with the SBA talking about the business recovery centers and loan products. And so we're here with you to get an update from the SBDC. So we appreciate your time. So let's get started. Right, let's go. Tell us a little bit about the Florida SBDC Network. What is this program all about?
Well, thank you, Tom. Yeah, so, I like to say the Florida SBDC Network is the largest continuous network in the nation. By population, we're third most populated state in the state in the nation, and but we are not subdivided into different quadrants like our fellow states of California and Texas are. So we are the largest continuous network. And I think, as you said earlier, we have 9 regions that do marvelous work across the entire state, not only in blue sky days, but also in those dark sky days, that we're facing with Hurricane Ian. We cover all 67 counties in Florida, from Pensacola to Jacksonville to the Florida Keys. Just one-on-one business consulting, research, feasibility studies, training, you name it, disaster preparedness. We have the full gamut there, and a lot of experts on staff that have been small business owners just like yourself, Tom.
Yep. No, great summary of all that's offered through the SBDC. And of course, as I remind folks that tune in all the time, my favorite question to ask the consultants here at the Indian River State College Center is, where were you people when I was in business? I'm telling you, I could have used all of these services. Most importantly, Greg, let's talk now. What is the network's role in disaster recovery?
Well, Tom, I'll just say, we're full gamut on disaster, recovery and also preparedness. And, we push out a lot of information that first week of May when it's disaster preparedness week, I'm sorry, and even into September when it's disaster preparedness, month. But I'll tell you, right now, when we're in a full-fledged disaster, weeks before we start communicating with our partners, that's the SBA and, the state agencies that plan for disasters, that's the Department of Economic Opportunity, and then also the Florida Department of Emergency Management. So we're part of the ESF-18 function. So it's the emergency support function, again, ESF-18 for business and industry. And we just collaborate with them. We make sure we understand what's going on the ground. We understand when it's time for us to move out with the services that we provide. And, just that's the first piece of that disaster role. We have a lot of other things that we do with our mobile assistance centers and such as well.
Nice. So I know you guys from headquarters have been extremely busy. You've been down on the West Coast. The University of South Florida and the Florida Gulf Coast University teams are deployed in the field. Tell us how you've been helping small businesses since Ian passed through.
Well, I'll tell you, Tom, I don't know how I've been helping a small business. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, our guys there on the ground, like you said, at USF and FGCU and really FGCU, they got hit the hardest, in that Lee County, Collier County, Charlotte area. They're just doing marvelous work on the ground. And, I got to witness some of their things that they've been doing to helping these small businesses. At the state office, I like to say we help coordinate with the SBA, as I've said, earlier, and as well with the state agencies we need to coordinate with. And that's really helping, support disaster recovery centers, those DRCs that the state sets up, as well as the SBA or FEMA, I guess, would set up the DRCs. But also, more importantly, we engage very heavily in those business recovery centers, and we help staff or stand those up. Our folks work around the clock, 365 days a year, helping our small businesses. So they live and they work in their communities, so they really understand how, when that disaster hits, how that community might have been affected, and then what are the locations that we can set up these BRCs to most effectively engage as many small businesses as we can, because that's the idea, is getting those small businesses back up and going on their feet as quickly as possible to get the economy recovered and get people back to work. And then also we've been coordinating very heavily with the SBA and, again, state agencies, but more importantly, SBA and our mobile assistance centers. We've been trying to drive those Macs, is what we call them, the Big Macs and the Little Mac. We have two Big Macs, 40-foot RVs basically, and then we have a little Sprinter Mac that has one office in it. But we try to roll those into those hardest hit communities, and we those are great billboards to draw those small business owners in, but as well, it gives, internet connectivity and such for, when we might not have internet connectivity yet, but also, maybe even power. There's certain times when we roll into the community, they just still don't have the power that's up there and running well to service a BRC. So we really have been focusing on setting up those mobile BRC units and working with our partners.
Yeah, and I want to stress too, I mean, these are impressive units. MAX, as you call them, stands for Mobile Assistance Center. As you pointed out, you've got two of the larger 40-foot MAX, and these are custom built mobile offices, not kind of a rehabbed RV, right? I mean, these were built from the ground up as disaster assistance centers, were they not?
Absolutely, yeah. They're just amazing when you walk into them. The bigger Macs have 3 to 4 office areas that people can work in, different Wi-Fi connectivity to where we use different carriers to make sure we have redundancy. We have those scanners, the printers. Of course, we have the generator, the air conditioning, the the monitors to tell people what's going on outside the units, what maybe programs are available to them and such. And
Nice.
yes, they're state of the art, just
Nice.
different computer assets in there. And I'll tell you,
Right.
it was kind of cool. We were in the DRC, and we had I don't know how many different organizations in that DRC, because the particular one we were in had insurance companies and everything in there. And these mobile assistance centers were actually for just a short period of time, maybe like 3 or 4 seconds on a clip of 60 minutes. So it was pretty cool
Yeah.
to get to see those Macs on that show.
Yes, I
So,
did. I actually saw that. It was amazing. The 60 Minutes, caught a glimpse of the Mac unit. Yeah, I saw it with my own two eyes. Um, so again, primary assistance during these times of disaster, and I've again, as I said when we came on the air, as a business owner, I went through 3 hurricanes, Francis, Jean, and Wilma. As an SBDC team member, I've been through a couple of hurricanes, Matthew, Irma. So I've seen both sides of it. Impressive assistance that the SBDC provides. Talk a little bit about specifically. Small business owners are immediately coming to these MAC units or coming to the business recovery centers. They're able to work with a consultant, begin the process of completing an application, submitting that application for potentially an economic injury disaster loan. Is that kind of what's going on? The actual work that's occurring?
yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of times a small business owner, I say a lot of times, when they've been through a disaster and they lost everything they might have had, right? Or they might have just lost some equipment in a car. That was what I heard a lot of folks, hey, I put my equipment in my car because I thought it'd be safe.
Right,
And well, my car floated away, right? And now I don't have
right,
my equipment and it's trashed. They don't know what resources are out there. They just
right,
know that they're a small business and they need help. And
right,
so our consultants help navigate them through that process of what's out there available, as well as kind of, make sure they understand what paperwork that needs to be, that they need to have in their hands before applying for those loans.
right,
Because the worst thing you can do is start an application and not finish it, not have all this stuff in there, or finish it without having all this stuff in there, because then it goes into this, this area where somebody's got to look at it, triage it, figure it out, go
right,
back and forth with you for, maybe weeks, months, you never know. So
right,
that's where our consultants really come in. I also know that from just watching them work, our consultants work in the field, they have so much passion for what they do. They are so caring, and want to make sure that they get these small businesses back on their feet, and they work in their communities every single day, as I said before, and it's important to them that they help, not only their communities rebound, but in those blue sky days, help those communities grow. So
yeah.
that's what we do in those centers, and that's how our consultants are helping.
Um, and again, there you make a great point. People really don't understand what resources are available. As a small business owner back in Francis, Jean, and Wilma, I didn't know there were resources, much less what different kinds there were. I had no idea that this kind of assistance was available in the marketplace. So you're absolutely right. I mean, probably the first visit to one of these MACs or one of the business recovery centers, meet with a consultant, is really just what's available, what kind of paperwork do I need. Is that kind of maybe the first visit where you could really understand, then kind of business owner can kind of begin to assemble what he needs, she needs to get an application submitted?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and a lot of times you got to think about these small business owners, even though you think about disaster preparedness and electronic backups, and your paper documents stored in a place they don't get damaged. When you have a storm surge like you had in Ian, and you had heavy downpours of rain, that you didn't think about the flooding that's been historic flooding that from this thing, and from this disaster. And then you think about the wind as well. There's just a lot of things going on there. And a lot of times these folks just don't have those documents available. And
Right,
sometimes they have to be, recreated,
right.
really. So, so yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yep. How now? Let's you've been down. I know you and some members of the headquarters team have been on the ground in Charlotte, Lee County, Hardy County. I think you did an entire pass through through really the hardest hit areas. Did you not?
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. So we started, like you said, in that south west, the Gulf Coast, down in Lee County and Charlotte and Sarasota, and visited the BRCs there, visited DRCs there. Really didn't in that time frame get to go out and talk to a lot of small business owners because the disaster was just too new, and we didn't want to get in the way of what they're trying to do. We went up to even Hillsborough County and spoke to the folks in the BRC there, and we went into Arcadia, in DeSoto County and Highlands
Right.
and Hardy counties, and just really for 1 week just kind of traveled that area around, and then the second week we started up in the St. John's area and kind of went backwards down through where the path had went, and
Right.
you know uh, just hit a bunch of the little areas there around, even into Orange County and such. So
Right.
just try to figure out what was going on, what that disaster looked like, how could we best utilize the assets we talked about earlier with those mobile assistance centers or
Right.
physical locations and such. So
Nice. So how does if I'm a business owner, a small business owner operator, I'm in one of those pretty heavily damaged and heavily affected areas, how do I find out where a business recovery center is or where one of the MACs is located? Is that on the website, the headquarters website?
it is, and
Okay.
the best place is FloridaSBDC.org /disaster. We try to keep up with that diligently with our communications with the ESF 18 and our SBA partners and such. And we hope to be able to expand that. We feel like at some point some local programs might come online that we want to make sure we're highlighting there as well. So as soon as our consultants hear those types of things on the ground in the areas that have been impacted, we'll keep that up to date.
Okay, nice. So you have, as one would assume, you are acting as kind of a clearinghouse for the information, the primary website, the Florida SBDC.org. That is the best place for a business to try to go immediately and can obviously gather a lot of information on that one site, can they not?
That's absolutely right. Yeah, and I
Okay,
would point them to the disaster page on that
okay.
FloridaSBDC.org site. That's the best place to go.
Okay. All right. Nice. Greg, again, as a former small business owner, I can't thank you enough for what you and your team are doing. And as you point out, there's an awful lot of really dedicated, experienced, seasoned consultants. Half of the consultants are at least a third to a half of the consultants are in the disaster affected areas. So a lot of good
Yeah.
people out there in the marketplace ready to assist small business owners in reviewing the resources, assessing the resources, helping those folks understand what they've got to gather and get together in order to apply for those loans. So I can't thank you enough for providing leadership for what is an incredible small business program across the state of Florida.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. And, like I say, it's the people behind the leadership that really makes it work. The wheels turn, and like you said, they're just some really passionate individuals that, like I said, I was just blown away by the graciousness and the passion that they had in those mobile assistance centers helping those small businesses. And you got to think about it, as you said, many of those consultants had damage to their own
Right.
homes, but
Yeah.
they just care a lot about what they're doing and about the people they serve. So.
And I know that we always talk about that the network, again, as you point out, continuous network. So we sort of operate, while there's 9 centers, we sort of always collaborate and operate as one. If there's a question our center has, we turn to the expert in another center. Same kind of process here. Other centers are deploying consultants into the disaster area to provide backup and support and additional help. That's going on too?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why I said, that continuous network is so important. I mean, we can leverage one another, and we do. When you have an area that's been impacted as hard as the FGCU region has been, there's other regions sending consultants over, and actually those consultants are volunteering to go over to just help get those small businesses back on their feet. So, a very selfless, network at that.
All right. So the most important thing I think we want to leave our listeners on this segment with is knowing there are resources and assistance available to small business owners who have had either physical damage or are facing economic damages to their business. There are resources and assistance, and there are financial resources and assistance out there. Correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, so there's really 2 levels. There's always that federal level, and really there's other programs, but the SBA is the biggest program for small business, and they have 2 programs right now activated, and that's the business physical disaster loan. And they also have the economic injury disaster loan available, and those are all $2 million caps on each one of those loans. You can go after either one of those, or both, but just know that there's a $2 million cap. No matter if you go, you get $1 million from the physical disaster loan, or you get $1 million from the economic injury disaster loan. And those deadlines are for physical are November the 28th, and then the EIDL, which is the economic injury disaster loan, is June the 29th, 2023. So again, you could go to our website and you can find all that information there as well.
Okay.
And,
Yep.
and then one program at the state level, which is a really nice program that they turn on for just what I like to call, and what one of my mentors has told me, is it's roadside assistance, right? It's the Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program.
Right.
And it's just an amazing program. It's 0% interest for up to 1 year, and it's $50,000. It just gets you going again, gets that equipment, the refrigerator or whatever you needed,
Right.
Catering equipment or whatever, to get you back going. And that's for businesses, 2 employees up to 100 employees.
Nice.
And I think the deadline on that right now is December the 2nd. So 2022. So, or until those funds are expended, whatever happens first.
Right.
So,
all right. Incredible information. Thank you. Good information. Much needed and valuable information for those who are dealing with what was a disaster in Hurricane Ian. And I know you were on the ground, and I know you saw it personally. Lots of damage to small businesses in that area. And you are right, Greg. If you simply go to the Florida SBDC.org site, right there on the cover, there is a Hurricane Ian icon, and you simply click on that, and all kinds of information comes up on the website. So again, I stress, if you're looking for the place to start to get information, even before you visit one of the mobile assistance centers, the MAC units, or a BRC, just visit the Florida SBDC.org site and click on the big Hurricane Ian icon there. Says, has your business been impacted by Hurricane Ian? Greg, again, thank you for your work. Thank you for the long hours over the last couple of weeks, and I know you've got some more long hours coming your way. So we appreciate it. And anytime you've got information, you can share it here on Small Biz Florida.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me. And again, thank you for all you're doing to push all this information out. I know you've been working not only with, the SBDC here, and I know you work for the SBDC, but also you've been working with the SBA, and just really proud of the program you're putting together. So thank you, Tom.
We appreciate it. All right. So with that, we will bring to close this segment of Small Biz Florida, special Hurricane Ian disaster assistance segment. Again, you can find us on multiple platforms, and you can just keep hitting play and refreshing to make sure you get the most current information. But always visit the Florida SBDC.org site first. And if you're on the West Coast, there is a BRC or a mobile assistance center near you. So with that, always, you can return to Small Biz Florida for more and additional information. Talk to you soon.
This has been Small Biz Florida, created and produced by the Florida Small Business Development Center at Indian River State College. Your host for Small Biz Florida is Tom Kindred. Partners for Small Biz Florida include WPSL and WSTU and Indian River State College, named the 2019 winner of the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence.